Apologies, my voice is still not back to 100%. Most traditional spawn rooms since Nocturne and Toten have some windows for zombies to spawn in, a couple weapons, and a door. Sometimes multiple to venture out into the map. But there are times where the devs like to switch up this classic formula with some interesting starting locations that work a little differently. So let's take a look at some of these that stand out among the rest. Now, most all spawn rooms in Black Ops 1 have the Olympia and the M14 as wall buys, with the exception of the World at War maps due to those weapons not existing there. But they also aren't in the Moon spawn room. Now, we can debate on if No Man's Land is actually the spawn or not. I mean, it is where you spawn, but I think most would say it's not because the round counter doesn't appear on your screen until you teleport up to Griffin Station. With that being said, the actual Moon spawn room has 2 windows, quick revive, and no wall weapons, which is interesting because they're both outside past the first door you open. What this does, because there's only 2 windows to defend, along with No Man's Land, it ends up giving the player a lot more points early on, which causes players to usually skip buying these 2 guns. Die Rise is pretty interesting, in that it has no quick revive in it, which is one of the few maps that do that, but it also has only 1 wall buy, and it's the Olympia for some reason. Olympia gang rise up. Not to get too philosophical, but what does it mean to be a spawn room? The room you spawn in and needing a door separating it from the rest of the map? Because similar to Die Rise's, Buried spawn room doesn't have a door you buy, but a drop down that slides you into the rest of the map. So what does this mean? That everything until the first door purchased is the spawn room? Because with more loose parameters, does that mean that all of Town's survival streets is the spawn room? And the buildings are the real map? Okay, let's back up a bit. Dead of the Night spawn room is interesting. Like Verrückt, you can spawn on one of 2 sides and only have 1 wall weapon. I do wish more maps would have this kind of system. It's pretty cool and unique. Alpha Omega is one of the most interesting spawn rooms, that being one with 2 separate areas that once you drop down from, it's almost impossible to get back to. Anywhere but here won't even let us go back, so that's one you rarely ever spend time in, as opposed to Forsaken where you spend a lot of time in. It's similar to No Man's Land, except the round counter is there, so it's just a constant hectic mess of undead. I like it. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Firebase Z's spawn room, which you can use the size to jump out of the spawn without having to buy the first door. Treyarch tried to patch this fun exploit many times by adding barriers, but thankfully the community was crafty enough to outsmart them and have some fun. Spawn rooms are fun, and with how many of them there are, all with different mechanics, it just makes some zombie maps a little more spicy than the rest. I hope that Black Ops 6 gives us some interesting and out there ideas we haven't seen before for the spawn rooms.